Section 1.3, this is the first set of examples we're going to look at here today, and we're talking about measuring segment lengths. And if you remember, we talked about how to find, in your vocabulary, how to find the length of a segment. So the question here, the first question here is asking, what is ST? And what that's asking is, what is the length of segment ST? Well, as you can see here, S is at -4 and T is at +8. Now there's two ways I'm going to show you this. The first way is the way where we talked about subtracting. So I take the two coordinates. I'm going to take coordinate S and I'm going to subtract that from coordinate T, and I'm going to take the absolute values. Okay? The coordinate for S is -4, and I'm going to subtract the coordinate for T, which is 8, and then I'm going to take the absolute value of that. Well, -4 minus 8 more is -12. So the absolute value of -12 is asking you how far is -12 from 0, which is +12. So ST is 12 units long. Now, another way you can do this is you can count on your number line. So one thing you have to be careful with, you notice that they don't count by ones. So you're not going to count by ones. In this case, you're counting by twos. So if I start at S, that counts as 2 in this case, then 4, then 6, then 8, then 10, and then 12. So ST is 12 units long. Okay. If they were by ones, then that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 units long. But they're counting by twos, so you have to be very careful on your number scale. Okay. Second question asks, what are UV and SV on the number line above? So they want to know how long is UV. We'll look at UV and find out how long segment UV is. And then we're going to find out how long segment SV is. From S to V and U to V. Well, again, if you look on your number line, you can obviously count on this. Let's start with UV. If I start at U and I go to V, that's 2 units and that's 4 units long. So I know that UV is 4 units long. Or if I were to actually calculate that, I would take the absolute value of 10 minus 14, and that would give me the absolute value of -4, which is +4 units. Okay? And then if you look at SV, from S to V, that's a long ways, so I'm counting by twos, so start at S, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, that's 18 units. Okay, that's 18 units. Or, if I wanted to actually calculate this, this would be the absolute value of -4 minus 14. And -4 minus 14 is -18. And the absolute value of -18 is +18. So I'm showing you two different ways here that you can find that. The third question is asking you, name the coordinate of the midpoint of segment ST. So I want to find the number that's exactly in the middle from S to T. Okay. So again, I'm going to show you two ways to do this. I can take the two coordinates, -4, that's for S. Okay. So I take -4, then I'm going to add the other coordinate of 8, and then we're going to divide that in half, which would be +4 divided by 2, which is 2. So 2 would be the midpoint. Now that's a little bit more tougher way than we would actually calculate it number-wise, but if you actually watch here, I'm going to start with a point on S and a point on T. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to count from S to the middle and from T to the middle. So when I do this, you'll see the two arrows here. There's 1 unit together, there's 2 units together, and then all of a sudden they meet in the middle at 3 units together. They're both 3 units away from 2, so 2 happens to be the midpoint. That's kind of the easier way to do it when you look at things. Okay, so this is talking about finding and measuring segment lengths and using the midpoint in this case. Okay, the next part that we're going to look at is on the bottom here, and that is comparing segment lengths. So it asks the question, are AC and BD congruent? Well, obviously you're not going to know unless they're congruent, unless you count how long they are. So segment AC, just what we did a second ago. AC, again, these are counting by 2s, but you'll notice that it's in the middle. So from A to C, so I go 2, 4, 6, but you'll notice I don't go all the way to the next one. That happens to be 7 units long. So AC is 7 units long. Okay, I also got to do BD, and again for BD, if I'm counting like we did before, B starts at essentially at 3 there, so that's a 1, and then I'm going to count by 2, so that's 3, that's 5, and that's also 7 units long. And again, you can calculate these where you're subtracting just like normal. Okay, so BD and AC are both 7. Are they congruent? Absolutely, they are congruent because they have the same length. Okay, in the diagram above, is AB and DE congruent? So I want AB and I want DE. So I've got to calculate how long those segments are. So as I look at it, AB, go 2, 4, and then 5, because again, it's in the middle. So that's a 5 unit segment here. And then as I look at DE, I go 2 and I go 4. Those guys are 4 segments long. Are these guys congruent? Obviously they're not, because they don't have the same numbers. They are not congruent. Okay, so now you need to complete go back to Classic and complete problems 1 through 4, and then 15 through 18, and then go to the second video.